All right, welcome back to another Outdoor Burrito. I don't even know what number this is at this point, and we haven't done that many. I'm not keeping track. You sure it's 5?
We're doing
it's not
it.
6?
I put the last episode out as 4, so this has got to be 5.
No, because there's a part 2 of Carl before that one comes out.
Or 6.
Okay. So, yeah, of the rebirth of the Outdoor Burrito. There were some before. But, yeah, this is the rebirth of the Outdoor Burrito. This week, we've got Justin Atkins with us on this episode. And Vandy is still here, alive and well, so he's also joining.
You guys can't get rid of me. I just kind of linger. We've went over this before. I am the stray cat, Justin.
Yep. Stray cat effect. Feed him, bathe him every once in a while, and he just doesn't leave.
So, can I ask a question?
Sure. You just
Where
start
did Outdoor Burrito come from?
The first one was with Chad Smith. You know Chad Smith? Long hair, fish the opens from Minnesota, buddies with Fighter and Douglas.
Yeah.
Won like bajillion co-angler opens. So he was camera boating for us down at the Harris Chain. Had all this equipment. This is 2022, I think.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because I remember him being there.
So I think it's 2022. And we had all this, and we're like, hey, we're going to do a podcast in the back of the trailer. Let's do one. What are we going to call it? So we literally started, like, Googling podcast names. And I'm like, I didn't want it to be just fishing.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started it back then, I was like, I want it to be just all things kind of life, but I want it to encompass the outdoors because we're going to talk about the outdoors. It's what we love. So it's going to be based around that, whether it's fishing, hunting, snowboarding sometimes. Kyle likes to surf. I like to surf. I suck at it.
I'm big into kettlebell workouts.
And kettlebell workouts. And if you do them outside, that could be considered an outdoor activity. But it was like you take a burrito, you put all these things in it, and it's delicious.
You can put anything in a burrito, and it tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't putting that puzzle together.
Yeah.
But you just put it all together right there for me. I get it now.
You take all the things you love outside, and you wrap them up in a burrito, and that's the Outdoor Burrito.
I would like to put an open challenge to anyone that comes on to the podcast. If they have a better name, I think we would go with it. But it'd have to be a big vote, you know.
I'm open to other names. That's just
I think that one's awesome.
It's just what it started as.
Now that I understand why it's called that.
And I have this vision, which we might have to use that guy for a T-shirt. But like I have this vision of a T-shirt of like half a burrito, and then the top half of the burrito, you get all the ingredients, right? So you have like a super cool bass and elk, maybe a couple turkey feathers, some kettlebells for you.
Yeah, I'm a big kettlebell guy.
Kettlebells and Krispy Kremes.
Yeah, I do kettlebells so I can eat Krispy Kremes.
Yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, that's where the Outdoor Burrito came from.
Okay.
It was by a lack of not having a name, and then it just kind of stuck. And
I feel like it's super in-depth and well thought out.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of prompted the internet of, like, what we wanted it to be about, and it came out with a list. And I kind of like Outdoor Burrito. Kind of makes sense. Yeah. So that's what we rolled with. So we don't have a specific topic for this one. When we talked with Carl on the last 2, you guys can check those out. But we kind of did a blueprint of getting into pro bass fishing in 25, how he did it, how I did it. Then we did part 2 of that, and we kind of talked about the business side and sponsorships. And I think we'll get into kind of a bit of all of that with you. I don't know. There might be some people that don't know that you're also Forrest Wood Cup champion. What year was that? Remind me. Was it 17?
17.
So you won the Forrest Wood Cup same year I won my first AOY.
That's when we had those awesome helixes.
How old were you?
27.
Those helixes
They were legit.
Amazing. I don't know what the 2017 Humminbird helix. They weren't even helix. They were 1199s.
No, they were still they were helixes.
They were helix.
That was the first year I think of it. Maybe second.
But was it like Helix 1199, or they were just straight helixes?
Yeah, it was called a Helix.
After the 99s.
Yeah.
I mean, because you
I worked for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started out as being like 11. I'm going don't get crucified because I'm going to mess this up. But it was 1197s, 1198s, then
Yep.
1199s.
Correct.
And then it turned into Helix Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4.
I will back you on that because I believe that is right.
Mm-hmm.
And
so it was like 897, 997,
yeah.
1197. That the first number was the screen size.
Yes.
I don't remember what the second number stood for. And then the third was the generation.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, it might have just had something to do with like the software at that time when it originally came out or something. But those ones in 2017, I remember I won at Sam Rayburn. And when I would idle past a brush pile, I knew what bait I was going to throw because I knew what direction that fish was facing. And if they were facing the brush pile and they were all up in it, I'd throw a big worm because they were aggressive. But if one was facing the brush pile, one was facing out away from it, different things, I was like, nah, they're not that aggressive. I'd throw a Nico rig. Yep. And that's how I'd catch them. And it worked like clockwork.
No, they were really good. I do remember now what the middle number stands for.
Yeah.
It was 2D, mapping 2D, down scan or side scan unit.
Oh, gotcha.
So if it'd be like an 1188 would be a down scan only.
Yep.
12, 11, whatever.
Okay.
And then the last number is generation.
Yeah.
So there's your Humminbird, Lake Master, ex-employee knowledge. Because I remember I had a 989, I think is what I did all my mapping with.
And you won that on Murray. No forward-facing sonar, cane piles, top water, August, summertime. I still watch that YouTube video sometimes. And how old were you at that point?
I was 27. I had just gotten married and bought a house and got a dog and won the cup all in like 5 weeks, I think.
Dang.
So that's perfect. Why do you think you won that event?
So I'll tell that story after I tell this one because I almost have to kind of back up.
Like in a time that could be total chaos, right? 5 weeks, weddings are insane. You get a new dog.
Bought a house.
You're 27, not rolling in a bunch of cash.
No.
And is that the house you live in now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a nice house.
Yep.
So in a time that would normally be incredibly stressful, to go out, win the Forrest Wood Cup, like how? And you can back up, tell your story.
So I guess as a one-liner, I was too stupid not to know I couldn't win.
Yeah, there's truth to that. Yeah,
like I think I get more intimidated now on doing this almost 10 years than I did back then. Back then I was like, I'm about to catch them. I'm gonna catch them, dude. I had 12 rods, 14 rods. It was like we wasn't gonna have a jig and a creature bait on in the same day. It was like, which one we gonna put on my flipping rod? Yeah. What are we going to, I got a spinning rod. Are we throwing a shaky head or are we throwing a wacky worm?
Yeah.
That's what I fished with. I mean, dude, I put them up. I had Powell's 753 CBs cranking rods. They were 7'5". I'm not sponsored by Powell, but I caught so many bass on them that year because I was like, I had to throw a chatterbait on it. I had to throw a crankbait on it. I had to throw a topwater on it.
Yeah.
And I had 2 of them.
Simplicity.
I bought one from Justin Lucas, and I had one from previous. And I put those 2 rods in a corner at my house because I caught so many bass on them that year. I don't have any other rod I ever owned except for those 2.
Yeah. And leading up to qualifying for the Classic, the Cup and everything.
Correct. Oh, I won the Cup on those 2 rods. I had the 2 topwaters on them during that tournament. Like, you can go back and watch it. I had 2 topwaters laid out. They were identical, and it was on those 2 rods.
Yeah.
But if I'd had to throw a chatterbait that week or anything else, like, we'd had to cut one topwater off and put the other on. So I think it was just like, I don't know, it was just a different time in life where I don't know, man. I mean, you just believed in yourself, and it wasn't all about a lot of, I don't know, man. Fishing ability was just such a big deal, and confidence was such a big deal. I never got torn on, do I need to be out here doing this? Do I need to be on the bank? Whatever. I just picked the one I was the most confident in that week and went with it.
Yeah.
And not to go off down this rabbit hole before I tell good stories, but I think that's where I get hung up a lot right now, and I hear a lot of other guys say it is just like, man, I need to scope, I need to fish the bank, should I largemouth fish, should I have been spot fishing, blah, blah, blah. Like, we've gotten so good and so advanced in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I'm not just like, I'm not being negative about the technology. Like, fishing has just evolved immensely in 7 years.
And just almost too versatile.
Yeah, it's like we all can do it all. And like, dude, I get so hung up on like, what do I want to try to do today? Yeah. Where back then, we went to the Mississippi River and I'm about to flip trees.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to throw a frog, period. I'm not going to try to catch smallmouth or this or that or whatever. Like, I just picked something that I liked this week. I pulled 3 of my 12 rods I owned, tied the baits I liked on them, all the tackle I owned fit in the front of my boat, period. Like, there was no needing storage at my house. It was just in my boat all the time.
Yep. I think most people across this country are that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what they own is in their boat. Mm-hmm. They fish tournaments. That's what they got. You know, like when I came up, I had one hard bait box.
I know you told me that. I thought that was so awesome.
Every hard bait I owned was in one box, and it wasn't even a deep 3700. It was a regular 3700. Traps, jerk baits, top waters, crankbaits, you name it. It was all in one regular 3700.
That's pretty impressive.
And but I didn't have much, right? Like I had the couple shallow crankbaits that I had confidence in. Mm-hmm. I had the few top waters, whatever, and it was simple. And like you said, you got in a situation, like I'm going shallow cranking, I'm going to throw one of those 3 shallow crankbaits.
Because I like them, and I've caught them on them, and I think if I get it by one, he's probably going to bite it.
Yep. And I'm like, hey, well, if they're biting the crawdad one, like maybe I'll go to the store and buy one more.
Mm-hmm.
and make sure I have a backup before I get in a bad situation. And so I think there's a lot of simplicity to that. Did you have a story you wanted to tell before that though?
No, you
before
just
I go
asked,
down another rabbit hole.
So you ask about why'd I win that tournament?
Yeah.
And I kind of have to tell the precursor to the reason I fished the tour that first year was the BFL All-American was on Pickwick.
Yep.
And I found out a year and a half in advance. It's not like I wasn't getting some kind of advantage. I just knew somebody that worked the tourism. They're like, hey, the All-American's going to be here next year. I said, that's awesome. I worked a contractor job for Lake Master at the time. I lived at Pickwick. And I found out I made it work where I could fish all the Mississippi BFLs.
Yeah.
Because the regional was going to be on Dardanelle, where when I was 19, I won as a co-angler in the Weekend Series National Championship. I won $50,000. Same time of year, same everything. Yeah. And I had one special bait that I loved that I thought I was going to always catch them on that time of year.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm going to freaking make the regional and make the All-American. So, fish all year. Was actually leading the points or was in second in the points. Going into the last one at Pickwick. And I'll never forget the night before the tournament, cutting my Alabama rigs off and taking them out of the boat. I didn't have nothing but a frog. I was like, I'm going to throw a frog. Top 10 the tournament, win angler of the year, blah, blah, blah.
On Pickwick.
On Pickwick. Yeah, I was mad at over the whole lake back then. And my buddy's like, you sure you don't want to take your rig? Just make sure you can catch a limit. I'm like, nah, throwing frog all day. And I freaking zeroed.
Oh my gosh.
And I finished 40th, and they took 40 to the regional.
Wow.
Like maybe 39th, but I literally just about missed it.
Yeah.
So I make that. We went on vacation. I was off like the whole month of October or whatever. I wasn't scheduled for a trip then. So, like, we went to Gatlinburg. I left Gatlinburg and drove to Dardanelle, pre-practice a couple days. And they were running current and I was catching them out of the current on wood, but it was kind of the same deal that I'd won on, I don't know, 10 years before, whatever it was. So, get back to practice, same deal. First day I pull up to a place, throw spin right there, catch 5-pounder. Like, sweet. So I go practice, do all kinds of other stuff because I'm like, not going to run any of my good stuff. Nobody's doing it, the whole nine. First day of the tournament, I cannot get a bite. And I remember running by a buoy, and it didn't have any water running around it. And I was like, it's like 2 o'clock, and I got to be in at 3. And I remember running by a buoy, and there was no water running around it. And I was like, maybe they've slid back out on the river. And I pull up to the first stretch, and I catch 4 for 10, and literally catch the 4th one. I got to go to weigh in. And I don't remember, I'm in 30th or something like that. And only 6 goes to All-American. So the second day, I start on a pipe. I catch 3 4-pounders on the pipe.
Jeez.
Yeah, big day, big start. And then I run out to a river stretch of laydowns, and I catch like a 3.5 and a 3 3/4. I don't remember. I had a big bag, like 17, 18 pounds. Maybe the biggest bag of the tournament. I mean, it's been a little while. I can't remember exactly, but I had a big bag. And I moved up to 3rd. And then the last day, I don't remember. I caught like 13 pounds. I didn't start on my pipe. Some people practicing for a tournament the next weekend started on the pipe before I got there. And when I got there, they're like, man, you should have been here a little while ago.
Oh,
I'm like, well, if they'd let me, I would have been.
That's the worst.
So, anyways, but it ended up working out. I made the All-American. When I made the All-American, I told my dad I was going to sign up and fish the tour because I felt like I would make enough money off Ranger Cup at the time in the All-American because it paid a bunch.
Yep.
And I'm like, if I just do well in this tournament and get Ranger Cup, I can pay for most of my tour entry fees. And then I found a friend of mine sponsored me, wrapped my boat, paid an entry fee. I gambled on winning enough the next year in the All-American, and we're just going to go wing it in the tour, and the rest was kind of history. But to circle back onto your point, on your question, why did I win the Cup? I lost the All-American on Pickwick. That's down a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That you said no negative controversy on this. I'm not going to get into that one.
Okay.
But I lost the All-American on Pickwick, and I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
I left there. I left the last tour event. I went to Murray for 7 days and idled.
Yeah.
Because back then we could get info like 30 days out or something.
Yeah.
And one of my really good friends, Brad Rutherford, lives over there, and he's like, man, I don't know. It ain't been as hot this year, or it's been hot. I don't even remember what the deal was. He's like, they may still be in Kane that late. They're never in Kane that late, but they may still be in Kane that late. Yeah. It hadn't gotten that hot. The lake hadn't thermoclined is what it was.
Yeah.
He's like, they may actually still be in Kane that late this year. I was like, all right. So I just went over there and idled. It took me 3 days to find a cane pile because I didn't have my electronics set up right.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have like sensitivity and stuff. Like I ended up having to really change that a lot when I got it right. Like I could see them. I could tell if it was fresh. Yep. I could tell if fish were in it. Like you were saying, they were so crispy. But the first 3 days, I just had it on whatever it came on or had been on. And I also didn't know what I was looking for. But I remember I went over one on 2D. This is literally a life-changing moment. And it was, at the time, it didn't seem like a big deal. But I remember just idling. And I went over one on 2D and I saw it. And it was just this huge, straight deal. And I was like,
looks like the Eiffel Tower.
That's a cane pile. On helixes, you couldn't scroll back.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Like, there was no
there was no touch screen,
back.
no scrolling back. It was like, I got to try to idle over at that again.
So, like, once it left the screen, it was just gone. So I remember idling, and I got about 15 feet from it, and it's about to go off the screen. I was like, you idiot, waypoint that. And so I scrolled back, and I waypointed, and then I went back and forth past that thing for 30 minutes screwing with my sensitivity and setting and chart speed and all that because I knew one was right there. And I went back and forth on both sides on it, watching it until I learned what it looked like. I went this way and all that, and I studied that one. And when I, really got an idea for what I was looking for, then it was fine because, a lot of canes sometimes they'll put them out there. They'll be real flat, so you may go by it this way, and it's a bush, but you go by it this way, and it would just be some lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned all those different things to be looking for, as I would go by, or I'd see the lines, and you'd see the hard spot from the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Just different things. Like, I bet the people in that house were like, what is this fool doing? I am just...
What did he lose?
Wearing this spot out there, just going around and around. But that ended up changing my whole life.
Yeah.
Was that moment, being smart enough to go and, really try to learn that. So then I go back the next, that was, day number 3 into my trip out there. After that, I spent the next 3 days going back over everything I'd done idled, finding all these cane piles that I had missed.
Yeah.
So, but I think that was kind of it. Had I won Pickwick, would I won the Cup? Maybe.
Yeah. But you probably wouldn't have put in the same amount of time.
But I probably wouldn't have went. I probably would have just showed up for regular practice. We had 4 days. I'd idled 2 of them. Been like, I ain't found a freaking game pile yet. What the heck?
And in official practice, I don't think you would have taken the time to really learn what you were looking for.
No.
I think that dedication and a little bit of wisdom to go do that is what won you the Cup. Mm-hmm. Right. That's having I don't even know what the right word is for it, but just having the willpower, I guess, because that's not easy to just hey, I'm going to do this just to learn.
Yeah.
Just to simply learn what this looks like, mess with my settings, figure out what color palette, speed, sensitivity, contrast, all that looks like, and that's going to change, from morning to afternoon probably, and different water clarities. But
this is how extreme I got with that. When I finally got it all situated and I left practice, I wouldn't put my boat back in until I got back to Murray.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want something to happen. I didn't want to knock my transducer off. Just whatever.
Yeah.
I just I didn't want nothing to happen.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you might win this tournament.
Yeah.
I took my boat home, and I was so not going to put my boat back in, I would drive to McFarland to throw my top waters and my flukes that I had boiled or whatever else in the water and play with different rigging situations. I didn't go fishing. I'd be like, get in the car, me and Tessa would ride to McFarland, and I'd throw a fluke out there and cut it off, put everything on, throw it out there, and I'd be like, all right, we'd go back to the house. Then later on, I'd be like, let's ride back down to McFarland real quick. And we made it'd be like, braid the mono, braid the fluorocarbon. I forgot my scissors. Go back home, get them right back down there. I'd never put my boat back in. And I'll never forget, I put in the first morning of practice, and I had one I thought was pretty good. It was pretty special, And I pull out there to it, and nobody's around. Everybody's throwing buzz baits down the bank. Cause that's how they caught them there. The last, I got one on the frog, one Michael. Bennett won, and then Anthony won on schoolers, but it was kind of a different deal. It wasn't like he was throwing directly over cane. They were just schooling because it was thermoclined, and the fish were just up on bait, and Canterbury almost won on a buzz bait. And so, I ease out there, and dude, I didn't work it 4 times. 5-pounder eats it. First cast of practice, and I'm like, yes, yes. Because it's always like that 2 weeks of well, is it going to change? What's going to happen? This and that. No, it's money. It's
so when you were pre-practicing, did you make a cast over any of that cane?
I did the last morning. The last morning that I was going to be there, I wanted to leave at lunch because that would put me home that night. And I was like, I'm going to go run some of these that, I would waypoint them differently if they were really fresh or I saw a lot of fish in them or whatever, And I ran them 10 or 12 of them, hucked over them and caught 20 pounds pretty quick.
Yeah.
18, 20, I don't remember, but I
Yeah.
mean,
which is why you're like,
We
I'm not putting my boat in. I'm not screwing up my transducer. I'm not doing anything.
Like, we're not doing nothing.
Yeah. I want this to be exactly the same when I leave here as when I get back here.
Correct.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And part of getting fired up at Pickwick was the reasoning for that.
Yeah,
like for that, like, hey, I'm gonna put in the extra effort. Like, you were a little pissed off, and you're like, hey, like, I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna come back better, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was so fired up about that, but it all worked, and it's like nothing serious. I'm not gonna leave like everybody in suspense. Mutual acquaintance just shared holes with somebody else in the tournament, and when it was all said and done, they were like, "Well, you should have just asked me." I'm like, "I didn't need the hole. I know the holes. I just didn't need you to give them to them."
Yeah, that's at Pickwick.
That was at Pickwick.
Yeah, you're talking about Pickwick.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, I just wanted to throw on them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it all worked out just fine. Because like I said, I went Pickwick. I went $100,000. It was a big deal, but like my life's nothing like it. Turned out to be. Like winning the cup was a much bigger, just exposure and opportunity. You know, like you win the All-American, that's a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's not.
I remember when Brad Knight won the cup,
Mm-hmm.
and he showed me his impressions, and it was like 1 billion. Like I had to look at it. I'm like, are there that many commas and digits? It didn't make sense because I'd never seen a report like with that many numbers. I'm like, 1 billion. Like a billion impressions, right? But FLW always did a great job of getting that out there. You know, like where all those impressions came from, I don't know, but they were real, right? Like, but they would blast out, you know, a cup winner everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that came from magazines and like all the local newspapers and news channels and all that stuff. So you're right. That was a way bigger deal.
Yeah.
Was it 300 or 500 then?
It was 300.
It had gone to 300.
I think it was 300 the year before, which Cox won. But it may have still had Ranger Cup then. But the year before, it was for sure 500.
Yeah.
And then, heck, it wasn't that many years before that. It was 500 plus another 500
for Ranger Cup. Yeah.
You know.
That's where the million came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that only lasted 2 years.
2 or 3.
Right.
Because it was like 500 and 100 for Ranger Cup, and it was like that for a good stretch.
Yeah.
And then it turned into 3.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean.
Yeah, I think it ended similarly, like right around the same time the Classic went to 300. Because 13 was the last year; it was 500. Yeah.
You know what's one of the? I'm sorry, I'm just popping back in, but
did you go check make sure the camera's run? Good.
Yeah,
I was watching the time to make sure.
Just my camera went off, so
perfect.
There's like a solid minute of me just. But the funny thing, like this is probably bad. When I tell friends back home that don't know bass fishing, they're like, "You film bass fishing?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like they make 100 G's a tournament. If they win the big one, they make 300. And everybody's like, "Are you kidding me? You make that much? I need to start fishing."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Good luck, buddy."
I hear that one all the time. I hear that one all the time.
Yeah. See you next year.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on
Never.
with it. So here's the funny part, I guess, to kind of like, less serious part, I guess, of that whole story. To fund that first year on tour, I sold a paid-off boat and financed a new $60,000 boat. But that was how I paid for that. And I got to the first tournament. So the regionals in November, late October, made it. TH Marine actually told me they would get me because Jimmy Mason was over the pro stuff then. Jimmy Mason's a good friend of mine. He's actually gotten me 2 of the jobs I've had in my life.
Yeah.
Technically 3, I guess, if you count professional fishing. He could get me a sponsor exemption into the tour. And I was like, all right, so I ordered ordered a new boat. It wasn't even going to come in until, like, after the first or second tournament.
Yeah.
And I got to the first tournament in a barred boat with a screwdriver stuck in my back window on my 2004 2500 with 360,000 miles on it. 360,000. And I had to have a screwdriver with a towel wrapped around it shoved in the window to hold it up because the motor went out in it or whatever, and so it would just fall down. And so to keep it up while I was at the boat ramp, I had to have that stuck in there. So we was out there doing it. And I top 10 the first tournament, finished 9th, and I won $15,000. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. Like, my earnings to that point was like $12,000 fishing BFLs because you just $300 in that to death.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, I finished 4th and won, and, you know, at that point, won like $1,200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it took some work to win $10,000 in a BFL series. So, I won $15,000. I'm like, golly. And then I go to Travis, and I got another $10,000, and I'm like, let's freaking do this. Let's buy a house. You want a car? Like,
You're buying your friends food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, y'all trying to go eat? Go to the Ritz. Like, whatever.
That's
dude.
real, though, right?
Yeah.
That's, it's like, that's the perception. When you don't, when your bank account is zero, 10 or 15 grand is a lot.
A lot.
Because I remember when I won in 2010, when I legs cramping up. When I won in 2010 at Lake Norman as a co-angler and won $20,000 in the tour event, I was like mind blown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had never had that much money at one time in my life. Like, I'd probably only had that much money accumulated over my entire life.
Yeah.
Shoveling driveways of snow and mowing lawns and whatever. And so I remember that. And at that point, like, me and my buddy were almost out of money. It was like almost to the point of washing dishes, spending another week somewhere to get enough money so we could pay for gas to get home.
Mm-hmm.
And won that. And then it was like, yeah, you want to go out to eat? Sure. I'll get this hotel room. You want to fish this tournament? I'll pay for the entry fee.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do.
But it was like when that opened up and you were able to do those things, it's like it just kept rolling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it was like then we went to Watts Bar and we win $10,000 in the Herman Gettelfinger like random team tournament, and you know, it was like it just felt like, well, wherever I'm gonna go, I'm just gonna catch them.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like what you first said. You just didn't know any better.
Yeah. I mean, I just had no fear.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and that comes with age and kids.
Responsibilities.
Yeah. Like, that's all the things that make it a little bit harder. I'm a little jealous of the young generation getting to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I am still young, but I mean, like, them dudes they don't have any responsibility, and that's so awesome.
You're envious because you
Yeah.
you were once there.
I was there.
You lived through that.
Correct.
Capitalized on that.
Yeah.
That era.
No, I understand where they're at.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I love
they
my life and all that. Yeah, they don't get it yet.
No. They will.
But did you guys get it? Like,
no.
I remember you at Okeechobee after you won. You were doing trophy stuff, whatnot, and Trey McKinney got in his boat or something, and he's like, "I'm going so and so wherever."
He was going to the Pasco Tank.
Yeah, he's going.
He asked me.
He's
like,
just gonna hang out.
Yeah, he's like, "You gonna go up to the Pasco Tank and pre-practice?" I'm like, "No." I don't have the time to drive up there, drag my kids up there for like 2 or 3 days to drive around on the lake, to turn around and drive back to the Classic in Texas. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, I have other responsibilities that I have to take care of, and
I know.
I don't have the time to go do that.
That's what I'm saying.
But
I'm not player hating at all. Like, I just it hadn't been that long ago. I remember what that was like.
Yeah.
To be like,
Yeah,
I'm just going to go to lacrosse and practice for 3 days. Like, let's just go.
I'm just going to go to Murray and practice
tomorrow.
for 7 days.
Go to Murray.
Yeah, just leave tomorrow and go.
Yeah,
like,
just go.
I think it's a little bit of like that ignorance is bliss, and you don't know it when you're in it. And like that stage of life, you're just free and no responsibilities.
How long are you gonna live in that?
Dude, I've milked that forever. Hey, I'm actively okay transitioning out of the just ignorance is bliss kind of stage, but no, definitely there's some benefits.
So if we're shooting from the hip and y'all want good stories, probably my favorite one to tell about my bass fishing career.
You can. I have a direction I want to go in. You did good setting it up but I'll listen to your stories.
I want to hear a story. Justin's always got good stories.
I'll just give you. It's short.
But hey,
it's short.
Do you remember? Do not let the truth get in the way of a good story.
That is such a beautiful line.
That comes straight out of the mouth of Justin Atkins on one of the BMP fishing videos. You remember what tournament that was?
It was last year. It was St. Lawrence.
Yeah, St. Lawrence.
Yeah.
So that's a buddy of mine named Wes Gibson. He's where I've pocketed at least half of my one-liners from. When they just randomly come out, it's when me and him have been on the phone a few times that week. I've heard 2 or 3 of them. So I get to feed one back.
Yeah, that was a great.
Feed one to Kyle. So, anyways, no. So, like I said, I sold this boat, accumulate. I mean, dude, it's probably like 25, 28 grand is what I'm going to have, like, before I've paid anything. And then maybe I'm going to get 5 grand for sponsoring. Anyways, I just remember I had to pay 2 entry fees. I had to pay an entry fee. It might have even been a deposit and then 2 entry fees, so it might have been like a total of 3. I don't remember. It was something crazy because we had a couple really quick. But I paid all this money, dude, and I remember getting to Gunnersville, and I had 8 grand to my name. And I'm like, holy freaking crap, I haven't even made a cast yet, and I have spent most of this money that I had saved. And I still could work for Lake Master and go do and planned on it and all that. But, like, I just remember being like, oh, my gosh, this is, like, spent way quicker than I thought it was going to, and blah, blah, blah. You know, I did not think this through. So I go pre-practice Gunnersville. It's not far from my house. Me and my dad go over there. I'm catching them pretty good, felt pretty confident, you know, dialed in. And I ran, and I don't know if he'll watch this or not. It's just not, I'm not being negative at all. I just got super intimidated. But I remember running to my starting hole that morning, pulling up my crankbait, firing it around, and a man that has a intuitive podcast lights down out there with me, and he starts firing around too. And I remember just like trying to be respectful. I don't know how close I should fish. Like, it's my first day ever doing this with him, and a guy I've watched since I was 6 years old is now, you know, 200 feet from me out here, and I don't really know what to do. And I just remember being super spun out and being like, I need to go somewhere else. I'll just go fish somewhere else. Yeah. So, like, I run to the next spot, then to the next spot, then to the next spot. Dude, I screw around. It's like 11 o'clock. I ain't had a bite. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, what the heck am I doing out here? I'm going 0 and blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, I'm fighting mega demons. I'm jerk baiting ditches and doing stupid stuff. Like, and so I remember it's like 12 o'clock. I'm like, just go up there and freaking fish. Yeah. Like, screw it if you and him end up, like, rubbing rub rails or whatever. Like, he wasn't doing nothing wrong. Like, I don't mean nothing negative about that. It's just, like, I didn't know what to do. Yeah. And
no, it was like, all you trying to just
all me.
Get your feet wet.
Yeah. Correct. Figure it out. And so I remember I just run up there. He wasn't even there now. And so I just fish right down through my string of waypoints, and I catch, like, 14 or 15 pounds, which ended up being really good. That's not the good part of the story. So I'm super fired up, and I'm looking at the clock. I got to be back at, like, 3:30. I'm, like, 18 minutes from check-in, and it's like I got 45 minutes left to fish, and I got to go get back closer, man. Like, I've got to get a check in this tournament. I've got enough, you know, to be doing pretty good today. Like, I'm going to run back. So I told my co-angler, I'm like, all right, we got to go, man. Let's ride. And I'm running back, and I had one waypoint out in front of South Salty. And I'm running down through there, and I was like, I literally remember having this moment where I'm like, screw all this. You may not ever get to do this again. Like, if you run out of money, you don't, whatever, freaking get the most out of it. And I'm like, I'm going to wheel out there and throw on that spot.
Yeah. Don't
Like
go play it safe.
Yeah, instead of playing it safe and being back early and fishing the riprap with 14 pounds in the live well, like, let's freaking go out here and fish. You got time. It's fine. I remember pulling up out there, and I kind of fished my way to my waypoint. I got out there, and I'm like, all right, that's about right. And, dude, I cranked that crankbait about 3 times, and it just cut the line. And I hit it, and I'm like, dude, it's a big one. And it's a 7-pounder. And I get it up there, and it's got my crankbait swallowed. My co-angler netted it, and when he did, I went, I'm gonna be a bass fisherman. And I just screamed it, dude. I'm talking about screamed it as loud as I could. And he looked at me
Like, dude, you're already a fisherman.
yeah, like he looked at me like I was a lunatic. But I'm like, dude, I've been like, it was just this release.
And this is on the tour. Just
Yes, this
so
is my
people know this
first
trick.
day.
Yeah. So you're fishing as a pro on the FLW tour.
Yes.
And you catch a 7-pounder, your co-angler nets it, and you scream at the top of your lungs, I'm gonna be a bass fisherman.
Yes. Because I'm like, dude, all day I'm like, you're gonna get to fish 2 tournaments and get cut because you're not gonna run out of money, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, what you meant by that is I'm
like
gonna
I'm gonna
do this
make
for
this.
yeah.
I'm
this
going
is
to.
gonna
This
work.
is going to work.
It was in your head. You had that like little thing that pushed you, and you're like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this. Like,
Yes.
I'm in.
It was that moment where
Yeah.
I was like, if you'll just trust yourself and do this, like you can do this.
Yeah.
But he was just like,
I
and
wish I
I'm
could've
just
seen
like
that.
having this like mental breakdown all day, and it just all came out. I just remember throwing that fish in the box and culling, and then I did have like 12 minutes to be back to weigh in. I rode it on back, but it was just one of my favorite moments, probably of my whole entire career.
Yeah.
You know, because the old boy thought I was just screaming about catching a bass, but it was a lot deeper than that.
There's a quote that goes along with that. I've got a quote for you right here.
All right, sir.
It's our man Chris Stapleton says, "You can't win afraid of losing."
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I have learned that, and I've tried to start working back towards that.
Yeah. Have you had any other moments in your life where you have felt that again?
I mean, yeah, little moments happen pretty regularly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, prime example, on Lake Hartwell the other day, everything I've kind of tried, like I felt like it kept leading me down rabbit holes that just weren't really panning out, and I didn't have but like 40 minutes to fish the other day. And I come out from under the bridge, and for the last couple hours, I'm kind of planning my next thing I'm going to do, and I was like, I'm going to go over and try around this island. The baits kind of look right. And I come up from under the bridge, and I remember being like, Lord, do I need to go left or right? Because I just, for some reason, I feel like I need to go this way. And I take off, and I'm running down through there, and I'm like, that bank looks right. And I wheel in, pan out there, there's a brush pile, right in the perfect depth. I fire out there to it, and a blob appears and takes it to the bottom, 4-pounder. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we can do this.
Yeah.
You know, like, by 12 o'clock, I'm in my head a lot of days,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to fight to not be, because the last 2 casts are as important as the first 2,
Yep.
or 2 in the middle, you
Yeah.
know. And I think I forget that sometimes, but, like, the first day of this tournament was a good reminder. I mean, I catch a 4. I catch 3.5 at 3:23. I had to be back at 3:30. 3:23, I, grab this one up and cool.
Yeah.
And end up with 14-something, 35 minutes before that. If I'd have been doing it at 3 o'clock, I'd have 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I typically say that I've won more tournaments on my last cast than I have my first cast.
Yeah. So I think it's like, those kind of little moments happen all the time. Probably nothing quite as extraordinary as, like, that one. You know what I mean? Like, that one was just very monumental. But
So you go, it kind of gets into where I wanted to go. You go from FLW tour. You fish that. How many years did you fish that?
2.
2 years. Then you go to the Bassmaster. Well, no, you went to the
Bass
tour.
Pro Tour.
You went to the Bass Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that invite. You go to the Bass Pro Tour for a couple years. Then you start fishing the opens, go all in on the opens, qualify for the elites first year, right?
Mm-hmm.
First year fishing.
So I have qualified twice. The first one has an asterisk. They invited everybody that made the championship the year of the split.
Yeah.
And I had made the championship for winning an open that year.
Gotcha.
And so I got invited, kind of.
Yep.
But it was kind of like they had to see who was going to leave.
Yeah.
Before they could formally invite.
Yeah.
Well, I had a pass to get on this bus, and I could see that the bus I was on was probably going to get sold or something like that. So I'm like, I got to go somewhere else, and I have a ticket here.
Yep.
So I'm going to get on this one right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
nobody blames you for that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, so we fished the Bass Pro Tour for 2 years. And then COVID is probably the main reason I was able to come back or come fish the elites, because the open schedule that year had conflicts with ours. But the Bass Pro Tour, we fished 5 tournaments, and then they canceled the rest of that year and had those super tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And we fished 1 open in January before I ever fished a Bass Pro Tour event. They used to have one. I mean, they still do, but they had one super early in January. It was on Toho, and then I don't think we fished another one till June or something like that. And then it ended in December. Like, I made the elites like the second week of December, the first week of December or something.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, it they pushed all the opens to the fall.
Yeah. I fished all of them.
Oh, yeah, you did. I forgot
I
about
fished
that.
all 9 elites,
forgot.
and I fished all the opens.
Yeah.
And then I beat you by 1 place
I had
at
forgot about
Louisville,
that.
and you missed out on winning AOY by 1 point to Brian New, correct?
Correct.
Dang.
Correct. And guess what? I had not thought about this until just now sitting on this podcast with the 3 of us. Vandy Hammer's first day ever fishing a Bassmaster Open as a co-angler was with Brian New. So if he would have just...
I could have played a big part in your history here.
Yeah, so
you would have had an AOI.
This whole time, we thought it was me beating you by 1 place at Louisville that cost you $10,000 in the AOI in the opens. Yeah, it was just Vandy.
I could have caught a 3 just casting up front and like snagged one of his or something. I could have really boosted you, dude.
Yeah, instead you pumped him up and shared a cigarette with him.
I was going to say, you should just threw his cigarettes out. He'd have been spun out all day. It'd have been over.
That's just something I like to joke about. I got nothing against Brian New, but the fact that I was already back in the elites. Yeah, I was already back in the elites, and so I was just fishing the opens just to
That
fish.
was such a fun year, though.
And, oh my!
That was
gosh,
such a fun year.
It was fun. It was a grinder. There's no way I could have ever done that if I had kids, but the way it worked out, I fished 7 tournaments straight. 7 weeks straight between elites and opens because it all got ganged up in that fall.
Yep.
But, man, I fished good.
Yeah, and you said I couldn't have done that if I had kids.
Yeah.
I had to quit the Bass Pro Tour. I had I'd made Red Crest, all that.
And had a kid.
But they wanted me to re-sign up.
Yep.
You had to formally commit, contract, whatever you want to call it. I had to formally commit by a certain time because if I wasn't going to come, they had to replace me. Get all that.
Yeah.
So I had to make a decision, and I was like, I want to ride in that classic arena one freaking time in my life. It's all I've ever thought about. I want to do it one time. It kind of goes back to selling my paid-for bass boat to fish a tour. I'm like, screw it. This is a chance to do it this year. I told them I'm not coming back. I had just got a kid and quit my job to go fish the opens.
Yeah.
It was like, better catch them, I mean, I prime example, we was talking about just getting after it earlier. We left Cherokee, and I went to Lay Lake, came home for 2 days for Thanksgiving, and went back to Lay Lake, because there wasn't an off limits.
Yeah.
There wasn't a practice period. So I was down there for 10 or 12 days. The only time I went home was literally to make the 2 Thanksgiving appearances I needed to make and back to Lay Lake.
Yeah. I mean, really, your entire success of your career comes down to dedication.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you ever thought about it, but I see a trend, right?
Yeah.
Like a revolving door of these crossroads. You make a decision, you go all in, backs against the wall, you fight through, and you come out successful on the other side.
I think I need to figure out how to harness that when things are kind of smooth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where I could really maybe help myself out, because I'm bad about this.
You need the fight and the dog to come out when the dog doesn't need to fight.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? I'm trying to pick that up. Like when you're doing good.
Yeah, so what he's saying is, like, when his back's not against the wall, when everything's going good, he needs to be able to grab that next gear.
Yeah, yeah.
When it's not out of necessity.
Correct.
Yeah. He wants
examples. It's like when I'm catching them pretty good, things are kind of going fine. I lose one here, I miss one there, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't practice quite as long because I'm tired, or I don't get up quite as early.
Like you might not be running and go, I need to stop on that spot in South Sidey. I'll just go fish the riprap with my 14 pounds.
Correct. Like, life's fine. I'm going to get a check. You know what I mean? But, like, when things have gotten a little harder, I better catch them good this week if I'm going to have a chance to keep have a chance to make the classic, whatever. Like, I just find this gear.
Yeah.
It seems to help work out.
You don't play safe, no matter what.
I don't play.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah, yeah. Like you like.
And I know that sounds easy at home. People will be like, "Well, dude, just do it like that." But it's just something different.
It's all mental.
But
I mean,
so they don't got they do. But like, you got to pay your mortgage. You have these things in your head that are like, I gotta do this. I have these responsibilities, and it's harder now when you're doing good and you're cashing checks or something along those lines. To be like, all right, I'm gonna take that chance. Because that's like you get complacent. Everybody does.
Yeah, and you don't win fishing for checks.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen.
No, I agree.
You have there has to be a mental shift that happens to win an event.
Yeah,
you can't.
When you guys win an event, like there's like I've seen it with you. There's a freeness to you when you fish. There's not as much fear. Like when you like. For example, like Champlain. Yeah. Champlain is one of my favorite tournaments because of the fact, like, you came from a little bit back to win it, but like that day 4, you're just having fun. Yeah. You have no fear of anything. And then you flash back to probably the most stressful moment of that I've been along is the AOI last 2 tournaments at Oahe. You like weren't catching them and it feels like you're pressing. You're like, don't lose. Like, it's like, don't lose this.
Yep.
Versus I'm going to win it, which is different too. That mentality.
And you feel it and you know it. And sometimes you get on the other side of it and sometimes you don't. Yeah. But I can feel the difference. And sometimes it's when I wake up in the morning.
Really?
And I don't know.
No,
I don't know what causes 1,000%. It. But like there's some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I am about to smash them. Yeah. It might be day 1. It might be day 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I just have to survive.
Yeah, and it's not always lake conditions or weather or whatever. Like there's some shift that happens in your brain. I don't know the root cause of it.
Yeah.
And I've thought a lot about it to try to figure it out. To be able to direct that.
It even comes down to me. I feel like the day when I wake up in the mornings, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do today? Like, I probably better start here. I might ought to do this, blah, blah. The day just flies by.
Yep.
When I wake up in the mornings, I'm like, we about to get them today, boys. It's like, I feel like I've been fishing all day, and I look down, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, golly, I got to be out here for 6 more hours. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's a totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's
so easy, I don't know.
Is there is it like confidence? Like
I would say
it's a level of it.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of fishing too is like if you get on them early and you're like you feel that like if you catch a fish like if you put
Kyle Wilcher
if you
calls that the flow state.
Yeah, you get into it and you're just good and like you're not worrying, you're not buzzing around the spots, you're not like this week for instance like I so many times when you were like I just need to sight fish, and you do it for a second, then you go do something else. I'm like, what is he doing? He just said like, but it's like it's so weird when you're looking from the outside at it.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, it's a whole different beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And day one at Hartwell, I just started sight fishing because I had a bed fish that I wanted to run to start on to try to catch. And even though I didn't catch it, it was like, okay, I'm just going to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And I ran that program and it worked out sooner. And then, but as that day went on, I kind of ran out of bedfish and I didn't find any new ones to look at and say, okay, like, hey, I'm going to go. Well, it's really him. It's a timer so that he can make sure the camera turns off every 30 minutes for whatever reason. And so it's like the day just flows and it goes. And then for whatever reason, I don't find any more. I don't have one to run to on day two. I'm like, I'm going to go fish points. I'm going to fish around the bridge. I'm going to, try to catch a limit, then go look for new ones. And it just, when you don't, and that game plan doesn't work, well, now you're spun out. 'Cause you're like, now do I just put the trolling motor down with 6 pounds in the box and
it's hard
and try to find one?
Yeah.
Because you might not. You might pick 10 pockets that 20 guys have already ran through, picked them off, and guess what? There's not a lot of new ones coming up right now. Yeah. And it's, like.
My biggest fear is stopping on one that won't bite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it'll give you some signs, it'll give you some clues, it'll come back. It might eyeball one time. You know what I mean? But it's like, I literally in the NPFL last week at Norman, I had one, and it would do everything you could ask for. I mean, the circles got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it started doing all this, and then it was stretching its gills and all that. But, dude, I looked down, and I'm like, I've been here for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like.
And it went, like, I thought it was 25 minutes, and I literally been there for an hour and a half, and I'm like, this was not worth it at all.
Knowing when to stay and when to go. What is that on my face? I don't know if that was some moth or what. We're outside in front of the camper. For those of you that are just listening, not watching, those of you watching on YouTube, you might have just saw it like land on my hat, and I didn't know what it was. It looked red, and it looked like it might be a bee or like some giant wasp. I don't know what it was. Probably a moth. But
if you're listening, Brendan freaked out like a little girl.
They would have heard that.
Listening.
It landed right on the bill of my hat. I was not sure. I thought I was about to take a stinger right to the eyeball, but we managed to get through that. Gosh, now I lost my train of thought on that. Oh, yeah. You get on a bed fishing, like, don't know when to stare go, right? Like, that's age-old saying in bass fishing. But I think that applies to a lot of things in life, like relationships, sponsorships. It's like you get, it could be a job or whatever you're in, and you get these signs where you're like, oh, man, I should stay. It's like, man, it's got good benefits. Like, I'm just going to stay in this job because I got good benefits. But the whole time you're like, I shouldn't be here. I should be doing something else. Yeah. And, like, when you're bed fishing, like, you're just sitting on this fish, and you're like, man, like, I think I can catch it, but I don't know, maybe. And if someone's standing there watching you on the bank, like, you've probably done this film, and you're like, why is he still here?
And you even say it out loud sometimes. You're like, man, it's not big enough to stay. 30 minutes goes by. I'm like, he's still here.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example, right? But I think that happens in a lot of situations, where you just throughout life you get in those situations and you stick through it when really you just need to recognize and not be afraid to move on to the next thing if it's not right. If it is right, you got all the right signs, then see it through. But if there's something in you that's saying, nah, something's not right about this situation.
One of the things I think that's valuable in life is being decisive, being a decisive person, making a 100%. Decision and my dad, Scott Vandiver, props, put a little asterisk quote. He says, you make a decision, you live with it. And I think that goes along with fishing too. You made a decision, you stopped and caught that 7-pounder. And it was a risk. To you at that moment, you're like, I'm nervous, but you made the decision. It turned out great. Sometimes you make decisions and it's the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing like you can do in fishing, life, everything is you make a decision, you live with it. You figure it out. And it might lead to some good, might lead to some bad. You learn a lesson if it goes some bad.
Sometimes it leads to some good and some bad.
Yeah.
I stopped to fish for retreads one time at the Arkansas River and caught a 4-pounder with like just a couple minutes left. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I got up on Payne, not paying attention, and hit the jetty that I had just fished. And I almost did make it back to weigh in. And I could see weigh in. Oh, it being all the ears on my prop, everything. I just like got it over there.
It's just vibrating. You know what? Props to your dad.
Yeah. He's got. But that's like, but I do think like the decisiveness plays a huge role in a lot of outdoor stuff. Like,
very much so. But I think the deeper side of that of making a decision and living with it is not having the fear of the failure of that decision.
Regret. Yeah, no regret.
Yeah, it's like this.
That's where I
this
get hung
is.
up. That's probably like the best explanation to where I get hung up.
Yep. Like we're gonna make a decision, good or bad, whether it works out the way we want or not. We are going to accept that. We're going to accept the decision. We're going to accept the results, and whatever those results are will determine our next decision. Yeah. And it's like that constant pressing forward, but we get afraid of the failure of that, whether it's judged by other people, missing a check, whatever it may be. That there's a part of the human brain that tries to protect you from that failure.
For me, I think that making a decision and understanding that you're okay regardless of what decision you make is huge, because you're strong enough in whatever that is. And for me, like, and we've talked about it, is like you have like that faith side of it too, where you're like, I'm good regardless. Like, ultimately, it's not up to me.
We've had this conversation.
But it's like, it takes you out of the situation and say, hey, it's not about me here. I'm going to figure it out because I have faith in something other than me that is bigger than me. Yeah. That is going to, it's not, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to learn from it. It might be the wrong decision. But like Carl said in the last podcast, he's like, I wish I would have done this, but he's like, it didn't work out, but he's like, but it did work out because I'm here today and you know what I mean? Yeah. To have that understanding and that forethought is huge.
Yeah. So, a good friend of mine, they were my neighbors when I was a kid. Then they moved. We kept a little contact, but I hadn't seen them in like 20 years. And I saw them last week at Norman because they moved to Charlotte. But he was just telling me that like he's learned as an adult that there's no negatives if you'll find the positive in everything. So like something doesn't work out, well, you just learn from that. So don't see it as a negative. Just know not to do it that way next time. Yeah. And in systematic things, I think that's a little easier to follow. You know what I mean? Like when you're going to make this decision, get the exact same result. Fishing's a little different, but in a sense, it's not. You know what I mean? So it's like,
well, it's always harder to. It's easier to fix a physical thing.
Correct.
A physical attribute, you know, like object, whatever, than it is mental. Yeah. You know, because a lot of times the root problem or, you know, the cause or the solution is hidden. And finding that is difficult. And so it's like you end up running this constant loop that you're trying to get out of, and you're like, I don't know why. Like I keep doing this, but then something will switch. Like you'll hit a situation, you'll have a conversation with someone. You know, you just talk to somebody, and you're like, oh, now I see it, and then you're able to get out of it. But it's a much more difficult thing, and fishing is so mental on the decision making process. And
dude, we can all cast.
It's like
That's what I tell people.
That's
like,
the hardest part.
Yeah,
That's where you
man.
get into that flow state and the confidence builds. And I've said this on stage, I think, this year, but like, or maybe not even on stage. I don't know. Maybe we've talked about it. I've said it somewhere of like the confidence. It sometimes takes years to build your confidence on the water, and it can be shattered in a day. And so, with that being said, one of the things I wanted to talk about was like your current elite career. What year is this for you? 5? 4? 5. Okay, I thought it was 5. First 3 years.
I didn't make the classic.
Struggle fest. Don't make the classic. So you quit.
I mean, technically got kicked off.
Yeah, you quit the Bass Pro Tour to fish the opens because end goal was like, I want to go through that classic arena.
Yes.
One time in my life. Opens work out great. Me and Kyle screw it up for you. You don't win the AOI Opens. And but you make the elites, and then the first 3 years on the elites, you don't cut the checks you need. You still have the responsibilities. You still got the house, the kids, wife, cars, payments, all the things.
Compounded.
But then, year 4, something changes.
Yeah.
You start cutting more checks, top 10s. You make the classic. What?
I just scoped, bro.
What? Well,
I just saw an opportunity there. No, I think honestly it was learning to just trust those decisions and not be scared of the failure of them.
yeah.
Because I had failed so much that it got to where it was like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like, it sucked, but, like, I'm still alive, still on the elites.
Yeah.
And kind of, yeah.
My wife and kids still like me.
Yeah.
So, like, let's just do what we think we need to do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I made some maneuvers last year that worked out, made some that didn't, but, like, all in all, like, I got tired of looking back and being like, man, I should have done this.
Yeah.
Tessa says that all the time.
Now,
Because I'll be like,
you just go do it.
yeah, I just go do it.
Yeah.
It just circles back to exactly what we just talked about, like living with that decision, right?
Yep.
Whatever.
Like, literally,
decision
I've
is.
told Tessa 100 times, like, we'll be getting ready to fish tournament. I'll be like, yeah, I probably ought to do this. I told her at the last one, I said, it's going to get one in the Pasco tank. She's like, well, why don't you fish there? I said, because I didn't practice there. I said, but I pulled in there for 20 minutes this afternoon just getting a feel for how it laid out before takeoff in the morning and all that. And I'm like, it's going to get one here. She's like, well, just go fish there. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not, we're not going to
Just
shoot
blind.
from the hip that much. Like,
Yeah.
I've called a few somewhere else. It's going to get one. And then it did. But, like, I'll tell her stuff like that all the time. I'm like, I got some bites doing this. I think that's probably pretty good, but I may probably just go do this and blah, 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 because that's a little too risky. And then, like, 3 people top 10 doing whatever. And she's like, why didn't you just go do that?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, I guess if I get that gut burn now, I just do it. Period.
When you get those, you want to like shoot me a text or something?
Yeah. I'll let you know.
And you're like, this is how it's gonna get one. Maybe I'll go try that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I think I told Carl I thought this one would get one sight fishing.
Yeah.
But I just could not find enough of ones that I thought I could catch.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw big ones every day, but like,
All jokes aside, where do you think that stems from?
what's that? The gut feeling?
Yeah.
Just
It comes from your
Time
limbic
on
brain,
the-
but I mean,
yeah, I don't know what that is.
He
Do I
he
have
likes to
one of
throw
those?
out these big words
Yeah.
every once in a while, makes him seem smart.
I think it's just time on the water.
yeah.
I mean, like, we've been doing this for, I mean, dude, I'm 35 years old. I fished my first team tournament with my dad. I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So, 27 years now. I don't know. Like,
but in 20 minutes in the Pasqua tank, what makes you look at it?
I had seen a lot of the other.
Yeah.
It didn't look like that.
Yeah.
It just, that looked like, I guess this will sum this up. I have never watched a live after a tournament and seen somebody fishing somewhere where I was like, man, that looks like ass.
Yeah.
It always looks juicy.
Yep.
It's always got all the grasses. It's always got the trees.
Yep.
It's always got the clarity. Whatever
it needs for that time of year.
Whatever. It's always got it all. And it's like, I never saw anything like that. Where in the heck are they?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'm bad about.
That's very true.
I'll ride down the lake and I'm like, I'm going to sneak in this pocket. This is kind of sneaky. And it looks like ass. And I don't ever catch them. And then like in those places. And then the guys that win will just be in the best looking.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't
That's why it
know,
always looks easier when you're watching it from home.
Oh,
on
1,000%. Like, dude, I didn't see a hyacinth mat the whole time I was at Okeechobee. And then I see videos of John Cox, and he's just flipping football field size. I'm like, I burned 2 tanks of gas riding around this mug. Where in the heck is he at?
I never saw that.
Man.
That's how I ended up in the river, because I looked for that. My favorite way to catch them in Florida is punching hyacinth mats.
I understand.
I found one that was like the size of this table.
I put the boat in the first morning and just rode.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to make a cast. I'm going to go look at all. And I just rode that mug until the wind started blowing. And I'm like, I don't know where this magical mat was. And he's just out there.
Such a good sound.
So anyways, it's like, I don't know. Guys never catch them anywhere that looks terrible.
So you just made the mental shift of having that confidence, living with those decisions to say,
1,000%.
if this is what I feel like I need to go do, I'm going to at least give it the chance and do it, live with the decision. If it's right, write it out. If it's wrong, make a new decision.
1,000%. And at the end of the day, man, I just feel like the Lord's going to take care of me one way or another, whether it means we're going to catch 20 pounds on my decision or he's going to provide me with a job driving a brown truck. I don't know, but it's like it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. A buddy of mine told me one time when I was a kid, he's like, they can't eat you. I can't even remember what I had said. It was something about, you know, oh, man, I don't want to get in trouble for doing this. He's like, well, they can't eat you, and they can't take your birthday, so you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You know, it's like, lose all, you know.
So much easier said than done.
Oh, 1,000%. But, like, I feel like when I get back to that 26-year-old that didn't have enough money to be doing what he was doing, but he couldn't wait to go freaking do it anyways, like, the better off you'll be.
I think there's a bit you said there, like you got to a point where you experienced the thing that you were afraid of, like that failure.
For sure.
And you're like, it sucks. It's not fun. You don't want to sit here, but it really ain't that bad.
Yeah, like we got through that.
Life is okay regardless.
Yeah,
like, but like that on the other side of it, you come out and you're fishing way more free. You know what I mean? Like I see it in you in the last 2 years. Like you have a confidence to you that's like, hey, look, we're good.
Yeah.
Like it's not as stressed, which is
just
cool.
Told my dad, I'm like, if I could turn my bad ones into 50s instead of 90s, then we'll be good. And what always happened when I'd finish 90th, I would catch some fish in practice and be like, this ain't good enough to, do really good. So I'm going to just keep practicing or go do this or wing it out here, and it would turn into terrible. And then what I really kind of felt like I could probably catch after practice would be like 50 to 60 when it was all said and done. And I'm like, man, those are a lot of points you keep giving up. So, like, now I've just learned I just do whatever I think I've got that's best.
Yep.
Like, if it's throwing a pop-R in the rim ditch at Okeechobee, like, that's what we're going to go do. Whatever, If it's something that's just completely against the grain, if it's the best thing I saw from practice, I just go do that then. That's just what we're going to do. So, I don't know. It seems to work. I've heard I can always say it, just you got to fish the fish you found.
Yeah.
Seems to work out.
Yeah.
It's like not, you Yeah, I'm just like, I'm amazed, and I say this probably every podcast, how mental the game of fishing is. And like, I wish it was studied by like a sports psychologist.
Yeah.
Because it is all mental. It's not like, physical state of you is relatively minimal.
At the top level, there's too many guys from different backgrounds, shapes, sizes, ethnicities, whatever. That have had success, that none of that matters. Like, if you're more physically fit, you're going to be able to, you're going to feel better after 7 days of fishing, practice, 4 days event, whatever. Like, that has some bit of an effect that'll then, less fatigue. It's going to help mentally. But as a whole, that's like almost personal preference. Everybody can skip a jig under a dock. So at the top level.
I'm terrible at it, but yeah, I'll get it under there
But you
eventually.
can get it, yeah.
I'll get it under there.
Yeah, it might take you 3 times instead of, Brian News going to do it in 1.
Yeah, David Williams is not even going. It's never going to hit the water. It's just going to float all the way under there and just.
Yeah, never hit a pontoon.
Ever.
Never hit a float.
Dude, it's the most impressive. Like when he won at Smith Lake, watching all that footage, it's insane. Yeah, like you said, it didn't matter. He just
whatever angle.
It's awesome.
And when that bite's happening, he catches.
He's
them.
going to catch him.
He's gonna be top 10. And so if mechanically everyone is pretty even, and probably more so now than ever, but there's still guys that are consistently good at the top. The only thing left is mental. Yeah. Because it's not.
I would say mental and going back to that dedication. Putting in all that extra time and work and all that.
And I think those
coincide.
Yeah.
Your confidence is higher when you've put in the work.
Yep.
For sure.
I think that's a revolving door kind of.
But even like Welcher today, when we were talking with him, is like 70-something% of the guys that win an event, they don't even make the cut the next event.
Yeah.
And that's so true too in so many ways. And it's just like, that's the other side of the mental where you're kind of like fly too high and then you're either coming lackadaisical or it just, fishing in general is just a very.
You still got to have that fight in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how do you.
Yeah. I mean, that could go both ways. It could be whether you're just on easy street or you've just been so consumed with all the things that come with winning one that you don't get that same focus. At the next one, you're still spread out. I mean, it's a lot to it.
For me, I think I perform best in chaos. But it's like
when like 6 people are also throwing crankbaits out there with you,
like controlled chaos, in the way that like I don't have time to think or second guess my decisions.
It's just intuition.
It forces you to make the decision and live with it.
It's like breathing.
It's
you
like,
don't think about breathing.
No.
You know what we got to do?
And it's like when I do that, it's like when I fished 7 weeks straight, opens, elites, just back to back to back to back. And you're like, I have 1 day of practice, whatever. Like, here I go. I was like, I fished even in 23. We had Lay Lake. Then we had Wheeler the very next week. It was like, even though I finished second at Lay Lake because a fish gets stuck in my live well, I was like, I go to Wheeler for the open. I'm like, well, whatever. Tree falls on my boat, smashes my top cap. I'm like, that sucks. Could have landed on my camper and killed my kids. Glad that didn't happen. Yeah. But like, I didn't, I missed a day of practice. I got like a day and a half there. I spent the first day idling around at the lower end, and then the other half day I'm like, well, that didn't work, so I'll just go up by the ramp, and then I almost win that one. Yep. And it's like I noticed this, that when I'm fishing a lot and I don't have the time to second guess my decisions, I'm just fishing. I think it brings you back to those early years where it was like, I have these 15 lures, and I'm going to throw these 15 in these situations, and I'm not going to think about, I need to go do this, I need to go do that.
What I could have, should have.
You're decisive in your decision making. That's what I'm really realizing in this conversation is that it's like every time we go down one lane, it comes back to this, the conversation that we just had and pinpointed down. And then it's like, oh, yeah, this one also relates to that. And so it's like all of these things come together. So I didn't know where all of this conversation was going to go tonight, but it's actually been really good.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the conversation. I've learned a lot. I feel like it makes us a little more dangerous on the water.
Yep.
We have a week off. I don't know exactly when this is going to come out, but we've got a week off from now to Lake Fork, and then we're going to go back-to-back, Fork to Sabine.
Which I think is so funny. I think that one is so funny. And I love the Sabine. I do. I love going down there. I may finish dead last this time, but, it reminds me of fishing how I grew up.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of bites.
Yeah.
I like getting bites. I hate going places where I can't get no bites, dude, because I don't feel like I'm getting a clue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, when you can generate bites, you can be like, okay, we're doing this. They're little.
I think I'm almost the opposite.
See, I hate grinders. I hate Santee Cooper. I hate that place.
See, that's what I mean. We're like almost
right.
opposites.
Because you ain't going to catch but 6 all day. I don't give a crap what you do. And, I can't get a feel for, what I need to be doing or exactly what I need to be looking for. I'm a bite getter.
Yeah.
When I'm getting them and I'm, can put some kind of pattern together, that's when I feel like I can do really well.
You like the Sabine. It's funny that we're going, back-to-back Fork, Sabine.
So it's Fork. It's going to take 175 pounds to win.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to the Sabine, and it's going to take 32 for 4 days. It's just so funny. Somebody's going to catch enough to win the Sabine in 1 day on Fork.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Probably not. It'll probably be...
Because it'll take 40.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah. So probably not, but close.
42 and a half or something at the Sabine.
You could win the Sabine with 6 bass out of Fork.
You think I could win a tournament if I was fishing Fork and you guys had to fish Sabine?
No.
Because I'm fishing from the bank.
But you'd have decent odds.
If you had a boat, you got some really good stuff on Fork.
The thing is could I my boat survive 4 days on Fork if I was driving it?
You just have to idle everywhere. That's the rules. You have to idle.
You
idle only.
You've watched me catch enough big ones out of Fork.
Yeah.
You know a couple places.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the conversation. It was awesome. This is the first one doing it outside in front of the camper, so I'm curious to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's pretty comfy. Yeti chairs are comfy.
I dig it. I like the setting.
Yeah.
This
I mean,
if it's going to be the outdoor burrito, we got to do it outdoors.
Yeah. This is our easiest setup.
Yeah, for sure.
Or our most consistent. We don't always have maybe the most quiet and peaceful campsite as we do this week right here. So shout out to Neil Paul and Visit Anderson for this hookup. But appreciate the conversation, boys. Cold plunge.
Yeah, one question for Justin.
Kyle always has one more.
There's
I will do.
I always feel like you're doing the outro, and I'm like, we could.
And he's like, no,
this.
I need one more.
What is your words of wisdom tonight?
See, why do you you can't put me on the spot?
Because you come out with such. Every time I do, you have good just off the cuff. What is Justin's words of wisdom? It could be from this conversation that we just had. What would you say that you want to share with the world?
I mean, if you're going to take something away from this conversation, it is strictly to put the effort into a goal you have in life and then follow your gut instinct with where you are. So, that, Brandon brought that up. It could be with a job or a relationship or, anything. Anything, you want to get into a new hobby, whatever. Don't half-ass it. Get after it. If you want to do something and you want something, look at him. He was talking about earlier he was going to have to wash dishes and stay somewhere longer because he didn't have the money to get home, but he figured out how to do it. If you're going to do something, do it all the way. Trust your instincts on it. They never lead you wrong. They may lead you down some bumpy places, but sometimes the bumpy places teach you something you needed to get to where you were going to finish.
That's our word of wisdom. I'm telling you, he's got it. He always does.
There's always a reason. We do not believe in coincidence.
Nope.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Way too many questions, but we're going to let it slide for tonight.
I don't know if you have enough space on your SD cards and your cameras.
We got a lot of space.
Or battery power.
We'll just go audio.
Yeah, we do have
We're
plenty.
going dark.
We do have plenty of that.
Outdoor Burrito After Dark.
There's already a bass fishing podcast called
Bass After
Dark.
Dark.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So.
Can we not just be a bass fishing podcast?
We are
either?
not.
Okay.
We're not.
Because I'm like, my IQ of bass fishing goes real low, and you guys start having those conversations. I'm like, oh, nice sunset out here. Wow, light's pretty bright over there.
It is not. That is why it is not named any bass fishing podcast or anything like that.
But I'm intrigued with like the lessons through bass fishing. That is pretty cool.
That is the basis of this.
Yeah.
Bass fishing, hunting, those outdoor things will always be part of the conversation, but it is the lessons that hopefully apply to other parts of your life that come from, I mean,
those things.
Yeah, the things on the life on the road and
for whatever small victories I get out here bass fishing, little wins, making cuts and all that, deer and turkey piss all over them. I'll be steady taking L's out there in the woods. I mean, L's. Like every now and then it works out, but I take a bunch of L's in the woods. I mean, it's so freaking hard to see a single deer that I'm trying to hunt in a 600-acre cutover, basically. I be hunting that mug, too. And, like, he gonna walk by this camera today.
And then you miss him twice.
And then, like, I finally see him, and I'm gonna miss him. With, I'm gonna shoot over him, or he's gonna duck the air, or what. So, like.
What do you feel like you, I guess, it might be a strong word, but, like, what do you love more, fishing or hunting?
Deep down, day in and day out, fishing has always been it. I quit hunting before I fished the tour. Like, probably 20, and I say I quit. When I was in high school and college, I hunted all the time. I couldn't wait for deer season. I bow hunted, I gun hunted, muzzleloader season. Like, I was going to win every single chance I had. And then as I got in my 20s, and I was like, every move I started making was just the next, to get me to the next step to be a professional fisherman. That's all I've ever wanted to do. But when I was in high school, it wasn't even a reality. Like, now they fish high school tournaments and college, you know what I mean? Like, I fished 6 BFLs as a co-angler and deer hunted in the winter.
Yeah.
Because it just, at that point in my life, that's where we were. But then as I got into college and was going to like start trying to think about what job I could be doing to fish and this and that, it turned into I just fished. I fished all winter, period, because I felt like that was what was going to make me better.
Fishing
was
always
just
took priority.
fishing all the time, so I just fished. So like I would take Tessa deer hunting some when we go home because she liked it. When I say home, when I go back to Columbus, Mississippi, when my parents still live there, they now live where I do. But anyways, I would take her some. I still went a little bit, but like it wasn't nothing like that. But when I started fishing the tour, by the time I got done that first year, I was like, I need to take a break from this. Like, I was kind of like Forrest Gump. I was like, I think I'm going to go home now. Like,
need some tree stand therapy.
I just need to quit for a little while. And I think it's good for me. I was sitting in a tree stand this year, and I'm like, I'm going to fish the Elites and the NPFL. I can't wait to do all this bass fishing. And right now, I'm just like, woof,
Can I get back in that tree stand?
Yeah. I mean, I've been home like 10 or 11 days since like February 1st. I mean, it's been a grind, but that's what I need. Like, I fished the Toyota Championship last year in November. I got my new boat. Got it rigged, fished the championship, And, like, when they come to wrap my boat in late December, my rods were still just strapped on the front deck. Like, I parked it, and it's just where it was. You know, plugged the batteries up and left it. And that's not a bad thing. It's just I need to unplug.
Yeah.
Come
It's a reset.
Come beginning of January, I'm ready to go fishing again.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
I have no more questions. I'm good. Your Honor.
I'm not the judge, but I will officially end this. It's getting pretty late, and we said we were going to cold plunge, so we're still going to do that, and we're not going to do it together.
There is room for three of us, probably.
No. There is
Hey.
not room for three of us in that cold plunge. We're not going to find out or try to find out if there's room for three of us in there. Because
I run a bunch of
there
that
is
water out of it the other night, so I don't think all three of us are going to get it.
You get creative.
It'd be like, if all three of us were in there, it'd be like 2 cups of water left.
Which is even more awkward.
Yeah, which is even weirder.
Yeah, definitely not happening. But I do appreciate the conversation. Look forward to having you on again, Justin.
Yeah.
So you always got some great knowledge, and we still have plenty to talk about. So, and always good having you on, Vandy.
You can't get rid of me.
Nope.
Yep.
Just keep stray catting. We'll
Just
keep feeding you if you keep
hanging
coming
in there
around.
like a hair in a biscuit.
Yep.
Never heard that one.
And how? Yeah. You haven't spent enough
Very
time in the
southern,
South.
yeah.
Yeah. You keep coming around, we'll gladly keep feeding you. So, all right. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.
Headed to the top to be the greatest.